Legends of Guam, the legend of the cow and the Carabao, the legend of the mosquito, the legend of the flame tree. The legend of the cow and the Carabao. There was once a cow and a Carabao who were friends. They enjoyed talking to each other, but neither one trusted the other. One very hot and humid day, the cow and the Carabao met on the beach in Ina Rahan. They both had come down for a relaxing soak in the cool water where the river entered the bay. Before going into the water, the cow took off her skin and hid it under a banana tree. The Carabao hid his skin under a coconut tree. While they were enjoying a refreshing swim, a native found the skins of the two animals and decided to play a trick on them. He switched the skins around. He took the cow's skin, placed it under the coconut tree, and put the cow's skin beneath the banana tree. As darkness approached, the animals decided it was time to return from the water and to put on their skins. As they reached the beach, it was dark. In the darkness, each animal returned to his own hiding place and dressed rapidly. Neither animal knew, not being able to see the skin in the darkness, he was putting on the wrong skin. To this day, the cow has skin that is much too big for her, making it hard for her to run very fast. The Carabao, however, has a tight-fitting skin and is able to run very fast. The legend of the mosquito. In the beginning, Guam had a little vegetation and only a few people. Most of the seeds of plants that arrived on Guam were carried by winds, typhoons, and ocean currents. Some were brought to the island by visitors from other islands. With time, all forms of life multiplied and became very abundant on the island. Residents of one village mingled with and married residents of a neighboring village. One day, the son of a chief from Talifofo wanted to marry a young Chamorro girl who was the daughter of the chief from Tamuning. When the couple received the consent from their parents, they agreed to marry. They planned a great fandango to celebrate the marriage and to honor the new relationship between the two great chiefs. As was the custom, the young newlyweds lived in the village of Talifofo, the home of the bridegroom. They were very happy indeed and loved one another dearly. One day, without apparent cause, the young bride died unexpectedly. Because of his undying love for his wife, the husband kept her body by his side and wept day after day. Although his fellow villagers of Talifofo asked the young man to bury his wife, he kept her and continued to weep day and night. After a while, he built a raft from the dock tree and put his wife's body on the raft and started out to sea. The young Chamorro boy stayed with the raft for many days. A Tautaumona appeared. He said to the Chamorro, "I can bring your wife back to life. In order to do this, I need a pin made of bamboo." The Chamorro boy made a pin of bamboo and gave it to the Tautaumona, then struck the boy's finger with the pin, and blood dripped onto the body of his dead wife. Blood flowed into her body, and behold, his wife came back to life. The couple decided to stay at sea and to live happily together. They lived from the sea and were quite happy for some time. Soon the husband, tiring of seafood, decided to go ashore to get some fresh fruit to eat. He swam to shore. On his return with the fruit, he saw his wife standing on the raft with another man. She told him that she was going away with the other man, and off she went. The enraged husband knew that he would have to kill her for betraying him. When the next day came, he went in search of his wife. He found her near the river. He stuck her with a bamboo pin. Her blood flowed into the water of the river and she disappeared. As her blood emptied into the ocean, it turned into mosquito larvae. Today, when a mosquito bites people, it is sucking blood with its long proboscis, trying to get back enough blood to become the beautiful bride which once lived on Guam. The legend of the flame tree. In the old days, a young Chamorro boy and girl loved one another, but because of a feud between their families, their parents forbade them to speak to one another. When their parents had been younger, the families had been close and were considered good friends. The grandfathers had enjoyed together many dippers of tuba. However, the friendship of the elders ended when each of the men thought he had been cheated in a land exchange. Since that time, there had been distrust between the families, resentment and silence between the families. Elena was the fairest of the fair, and because her mother was dead, Elena was already skilled at an early age in all the maidenly arts of the household. Before sunrise, she made breakfast and packed lunches in pandanus leaf bags for her father and her brothers. She washed clothes, made soap, and wove beautiful mats and baskets. She and her family held too many of the old ways. The boy she loved was named Nicholas, who was a young man who lived as the only son with his old father. They seldom lacked for food because Nicholas had learned well from his father how to be one of the best fishermen on the island. Although only 18, his skill and daring in the deep waters had already earned him a worthy name. Elena had heard of his exploits, which outshone those of any other boy in the village. They met, by accident, in front of the same saint. The boy spoke first, breaking the family taboo because he could not resist the call of her charm. They talked, they strolled, their friendship became love. When her father learned the news of their secret courtship, he instructed the three brothers to take turns watching their sister closely. If the boy came near her, they were to strike him down. But as lovers will, they found a way to send messages to one another. They began leaving each other letters hidden beneath the saint's feet. At other times, a note was left in a missal or tucked in a corner of the confessional. In each of these notes, their ardor confessed itself more openly, more passionately. Soon, love notes were not enough, for young fire cannot be so easily quenched by parental frowns, warnings, or blindness. Elena's fervent prayers seemed to go unanswered until Nicholas dared to go to the garden wall of her house. There they met at night, he on the outside of the wall, she on the inside. They spoke in a whisper through the hole in the stone barrier, confessed their joy in loving each other, and expressed their sorrow in being kept apart. At last, each was sure of the feeling of the other. They spoke kisses through the opening but could not taste them. One evening, Elena's older brother became suspicious of his sister's sweet murmurings at the wall. From them on, the couple knew that they must meet somewhere where they could be completely alone. They resolved to put an end to their unsatisfied yearnings. That night, Elena wore the mantilla of white lace that Nicola had thrown her the evening before. He gave it not only to adorn her, but also so that he could find her more easily in the dark. Elena, impatient to see her man-to-be, left well before the appointed hour. What she did not know was that her two older brothers, with sharp machetes in hand, followed her. They were ready to defend their sister's virtue. They would not let their family be dishonored again. Arriving. At the appointed place, she waited for a while near the bridge, not knowing her brothers stood close by. There was a slight noise in the underbrush, and the brothers, thinking they were being attacked, used their machetes and hacked at a live thing in the darkness. A wild boar shrieked. They fled the scene, terrified by the thrashing in the darkness. Elena hid in terror and lost her mantilla. The maddened boar smelled the human scent and Elena's perfume and seized the mantilla, gored it, ripped it apart, and smeared it with blood. Nicholas was still far away. He had not been able to get away so soon to meet his beloved, for Elena's father had warned Nicholas's father to keep the boy away from his daughter. Knowing the fearless boy's cleverness, Nicholas's father had cousins guarding him carefully, but the boy finally slipped away. When Nicholas arrived in the noonlight, he heard the savage roar and paled. When he saw the mantilla covered with blood, he was overwhelmed with a sense of guilt. He had fixed this place at the edge of the jungle for their meeting. I am the cause of her death. In anguish he vowed, I too shall die. The noon will see two lovers dead. He went to the appointed tree with its white blossoms bright in the moonlight. He picked up the lace cloth and kissed it, bathing it with tears. He took his fishing knife from his belt and stabbed himself in the chest, pulled it out with the last bit of strength, and threw it away so that his wound would bleed freely. The blood gushed out in great pulses and covered the ground around the tree. Elena came out of her hiding place and looked for Nicholas. She thought he should have arrived there by that time. She looked around. Under the tree she saw a body lying near the roots, still quivering and faintly breathing. She started to run away, and then she recognized Nicholas. She screamed. Kneeling beside him, she touched his cold face with her warm lips. Why? "Why have my cruel brothers done this to you?" she asked. Hearing her voice, he opened his eyes for a moment, looked at her, and then he died. She wept uncontrollable tears. When she finally raised her head, she saw on the ground the bloody machetes that her brothers had dropped when they ran away. Numbly, she asked, "If pride and hatred are so strong in life, what is there to live for?" Only stillness answered her despair. "Neither family nor death shall keep me from Nicholas," she said. After uttering a brief prayer that she and her beloved might be buried together, Elena asked the spirit of the tree to bear witness to their love. Then she plunged the machete deep into her abdomen. The gods of nature looked down at the two lovers with compassion. Then, the pure white blossoms of the tropical tree turned to a burning red like the lovers' blood. The next day, the parents learned of the fate of the two young lovers, and both sets of parents mourned together. Some people say that the color of the flame tree is due to the blood mixed with the tears of the two lovers. Older people believe that the blazing blossoms of the tree represent young, unfulfilled passion. Some young people think that the red color of the blossoms represents the shame felt by the parents of the young girl. In any case, in the season when the flowers burst forth in red, they remind us that love alone should rule the world.